Hey everyone, how's it going? I wanted to, before I started into this video, just take a second to say that this video is not a review of the printer itself, nor is it like an extensive how-to video for using resin printers in model railroading. This is more of like my initial impressions of how I feel about resin printing and how it might be used by model railroaders. Having done about 10 prints myself for a different non-model railroad related project. Also, I wanted to get a bunch of B-roll of me using the printer and building out the stuff and putting it all together. But I ended up concentrating so hard on making sure I didn't screw everything up that I forgot to get the B-roll. So with all that being said, we're going to get a more extensive review of the machine itself and more of a how to use it in another video down the road. But this is more of like my initial impressions. And so hopefully you find that interesting. And let's get to the video. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Matt, I'm back, and today we're going to talk about resin printing and whether it is right for you and your model railroad. So I bought a resin printer. It's something that I have wanted to buy for a while for my model railroad hobby, as well as some other hobbies that I have unrelated to model railroading. But it was one of those things where I kind of was waiting to see where the technology was going, if it was going to get better, if the quality of the prints were going to get better, if the quality of the process of making these prints would be getting any better. And I want to kind of wait on all that before I jumped in. As you can see, I finally found the point where it was time for me to jump in. I had another project that I wanted to do for a different hobby that I have unrelated to model railroading. And I just kind of found myself in a place where it's like, well, I have the money, I have the time, I have the project, so let's go ahead and do it. And so I did. So I bought a Saturn Elegoo, Saturn 4 Ultra 16K. It's a lot of words. And their Elegoo, I can't remember what it's called, version 3 wash station, something like that, as well as the Mars Mate, which is a sort of external, it's a giant block of carbon that helps kind of filter through the toxic fumes, which we'll get into in a second. Up to a couple years ago, the quality of the models themselves were just okay. They were good, but they weren't like as good as if you were to buy like a mold injected plastic kit from, I don't know, like Walthers or like if you're buying like a locomotive from like Scale Trains or something like that, right? That the fidelity of the detail there, the crispness of the detail there just wasn't quite available in resin. It is now, and it's been that way for a couple of years actually. Modern resin printers, like your 12K, your 16K printers, are not any better now as far as the quality of the models coming out of them than they were a few years ago. So if you are waiting for like resin models to get as good as they're going to get, I think we're kind of plateaued there. There might be some room for improvement there as far as the fidelity and the quality of the print, but I think all that is related to the resin goo itself and not the printers. I think the printers, as far as what they're able to produce, are kind of as good as it's ever going to get. Where there is room for improvement is just like the production and post-production process, the process of creating the model and then cleaning up that model and getting it to a place where it's safe to be handled. That whole thing is a nightmare. And I will say, unless you're really into the idea of having one of these in your home and using it to model things that are not available to either be purchased somewhere else or easily created in a scratch building sort of way, like with sheets of styrene and that kind of thing. Unless you're really into the idea of using a resin printer, I would say don't buy a resin printer because they are expensive. I mean, there's the cost of the printer itself, but then all the ancillary items and the cleanup. I mean, just the cost of, this is 7.5 liters of IPA alcohol, which is expensive. There's a lot. Alcohol is expensive, and you got to replace it occasionally, right? The resin itself can be expensive if you're getting certain brands and types of resin. It's expensive, and it's just such a pain in the butt and such a scary, not scary, but like stressful process creating a resin print that unless you're really in the idea of like, I really want this for myself, or you have a lot of projects that you know that you can use it for, I think the best thing you can do is if you have a group of model railroaders in your community, and you kind of all want one, maybe pool your money and buy one and nominate some guy to be the guy that has this in his home, and then that does all the printing for you, and then you throw him a couple of bucks for doing it. It's just, I don't want to say the word nightmare because it's not a nightmare. It's just such a messy process. And as good as these printers have gotten, the process of kind of cleaning up resin prints and getting them, in a good state hasn't really changed much from the beginning. There's a couple of quality life improvements here and there, which is nice, but it's still kind of a terrible process, and I don't really see it getting any better anytime soon. I got one because, like I said, I've got model railroading I'm interested in using it for. I've got other hobbies I have interest in using it for. And also, I like the idea of 3D modeling. I went to school for 3D modeling and animation. My early career involved quite a bit of that, actually. And that was a fun time in my life. And it's been about 20 years since I really had any need to do any 3D modeling on the computer. And now I got an opportunity to do that again for my model railroad, for some of my other interests. I can get back to modeling again and then produce something physical that relates to my other hobbies, my model railroading interests and that kind of thing. So that's what I plan on doing. For 26th Street Station, I'm going to be building a whole elevated highway. I'm going to be building details for buildings, details for float bridge and stuff. There's going to be a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of uses for this printer on 26th Street Station. Same on the Medellin Falls branch. I'm going to be building very specific location-specific details for that, which is going to be fun. I'm going to be building my own rail cars for like specific rail cars that you can't buy. Nobody manufactures this particular type of rail car, so it's an opportunity for me to design and model it and build it for myself there. So, I mean, this is an excellent tool for the hobby, don't get me wrong. And, if you go to like hobby shows, especially if you go to places like St. Louis RPM, there are so many great manufacturers out there that use resin in the process. And, small one-man shops, somebody working out of their garage that do amazing work that is just not available from the larger manufacturers. And I think that that's great for the hobby. And to have one in my basement that I can use with caution, being very careful for whatever I want to print myself is excellent as well. You just got to really want to do it. This is not something you get into lightly where you're like one day like, hey, I want to buy myself a resin printer. I mean, there are ways to screw up not only the printer itself, but like the room it's in, your lungs. Like there are ways to really, this could be a disaster. And so I can't run out. I can't say run out and get one now because the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra 16K is the printer for you. I can't really say that. I think it's you'll know if resin printing is right for you. How about that? Let's just say that. Thank you everyone for stopping by, watching this video, and I'll see all of you in another video.